Ciao amici, I'm Maestro Leo Spizzeri, and today I'm going to be making what some might consider a novelty, but any of you out there who have a set of kids sitting around saying, what can I make them out of this Blackstone that's really going to excite them and take it over the top, I'm going to show you how to make my stuffed crust pizza. Stick around, I'm going to show you all my tips coming up next. "35 years, this never gets old." So, in order to make a pizza, we need some pizza dough. If all of you out there remember, if you don't, I made this thing called my American traditional dough. This dough, very simple. Here's how to make it. I'm going to be using King Arthur bread flour for this one. Make sure you grab yourself a digital scale and tare out the bowl. When you start weighing out all your ingredients, put everything into individual bowls. Go one at a time. Make sure you have 0 on the tare and then put all the ingredients inside the bowl. Look at that technique right there for putting honey. I like to put a little bit of oil in there first. This way the honey releases. And then I like to stir everything with my fingers. It's the best whisk you got right there. Look at that method. I'm going to stir very slowly, and once you see that half the flour has been incorporated into the water along with the salt and the honey, I'm going to add my yeast, and then just keep stirring with your fingers until you make a paste. Put the last bit of flour in there, continue stirring until you start to feel that gluten is formed. And look at that, I can actually get it to the point where it starts to pull away from the bowl. I add the oil in at the very end, making this beautiful smooth dough. Give it a quick knead on top of the countertop, and then once you have it all kneaded and it's nice and smooth, I'm going to take that dough, cover it with some plastic. This is going to let it rest, and then go ahead, divide your dough balls out. Make sure you weigh them because you want everything consistent. This is my method for rolling dough balls. Make those points, fold them into the center, and then once I have a nice tight dough ball, I pinch it into a change purse from the bottom, and look at that, a perfect dough ball every time. Stick it into one of those Blackstone dough boxes. I like to put 6 in a box, throw a lid on top, stick that in the refrigerator until you need them, and there you go. First thing we're gonna do is take some flour. Now you'll notice these dough balls are really goofy looking, right? It's because I'm working outside. These doughs have been sitting out for a while, and yes, they're a little bit misshapen. But does that mean that we have to throw these in the trash? No way. This is actually the perfect dough to do what we're gonna do, because I'm not looking for a perfect straight round edge. I'm gonna build it up with the mozzarella, and then I'm gonna make that edge with the cheese. So I'm gonna take this out very gently. I'm gonna get it into my flour. Take this, put the lid back on, because we might need that last dough ball, right? Now that this is inside the flour, I'm going to give this a quick dredge on both sides. I'm going to start with the part of the dough that was the top of the dough ball. Hear me out. Because the top of the dough ball has formed a little bit of a skin on it, it's going to transfer really easy. And the reason why I want to make sure that that's the bottom of my pizza is because that skin, this pizza is going to be maybe a little bit heavier on the edges because of those secret ingredient. Guess what we're going to be using, guys? I'm going to stuff this with string cheese sticks, right? Now, if you don't have string cheese sticks, you can get yourself some whole milk mozzarella, some of those blocks, make your own, right? They're pretty similar in size. You don't need anything special, but if you could find these in the grocery store, these work really good. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to start patting this, and you'll notice that, hey, even though that dough ball was square, Leo's making a pretty round pizza, and guess what? So can you. All you have to do is just use your fingers. Imagine that you're playing the piano, which, by the way, CJ's giving me a piano. I don't know how I'm going to get it back to Chicago, but rumor has it there's a piano coming to Chicago, and for all those taking score, he said that there is nothing in it, which I was hoping he was going to fill it up with some, $100 bills, something like that. No, does not. I heard it's like buying a boat, like best day you buy a boat is the first day, and then the best day after that is the day you get rid of it. Yes. So I'm feeling that right now you're probably saying, I'm so happy to be done with that piano, Leo. My best day is on its last day. I'm going to put a little bit more flour over here, and then we're going to start building this, right? So the idea is that I need to stretch this, but as I'm stretching, I'm literally just pressing from the sides, making this kind of I don't know, imagine that we did this with a rolling pin without a rolling pin. Because if we were to use a rolling pin, we would knock all these air bubbles out of here. And if Ethan would get in really nice and close, come here, E, you can actually see really close that there's all these little pockets of air inside here, which is gonna be why my pizzas are always really beautiful and light and airy. Yes, it helps to start with a really amazing dough, which you now have the recipe for. But if you treat this dough with a little bit of respect, guess what? The pizza is going to respect you when it comes out of the oven. Now, this being said, I've got this on my board and I've got it pretty round. I'm going to take some of these mozzarella sticks here. I had Andy unpeel these earlier and I told him I wanted 8. I don't know why I wanted 8, but I wanted 8. These are pretty long and you'll notice that they're a little bit longer than my pizza. So if we want to make actually help the cause, split them in half, right? And then I'm going to kind of make this little ring all the way around. Now, because these are pretty thick, you don't need a lot of these because all of a sudden, unless you really want that cheese like oozing all over the place, you're gonna appreciate that we only need a little bit here. I'm gonna take one more, maybe 2 more. What the heck? There we go. I'm gonna make this edge. You see where I'm going with this, guys? From here now, if your dough looks a little bit dry, all right, I'm just kind of pulling this a little bit here from the edges, making this round. And these sticks here are just gonna kind of ride on the edge of this dough like this. If you're looking like a little dry, I've got a little water here. This is just fresh basil. I keep my fresh basil in some water, especially when I'm working outside when it's hot, because the fresh basil in water will keep that, that basil nice and fresh looking without it looking like it's disintegrated or wilting. I'm gonna take my fingers just like this, and I'm just gonna pat the inside part of this dough right in front of the center, I guess where the mozzarella stick is here. I keep saying mozzarella stick. This is string cheese, guys, string cheese, right? It's just Uncle Leo working with an ingredient that I don't normally eat too much, right? Not anything bad with it. These are actually pretty good ones too. So I'm gonna take the dough just like this, and I'm gonna flip it over onto the dough. Here we go again. Take the dough, flip it over, press. Flip it over and press. We're gonna do this all the way around. If you think that you need a little bit more or it's something is out of place or whatever, guys, we're really cooking here. Make it your own. Move things around. Make it look great. At the end of the day, this is the fun part of cooking. If you want your kids involved, if you think that, hey, guess what? We're gonna make a little bit of mess, it's all right with me. We're cooking outside, who cares? Let them make a little bit of mess. The last thing I'm gonna do is, I notice, hey, what about that one spot right there? No big deal. Grab one, we'll put a little bit like this, stick that in the hole, flip it over, boom, done. Now, as I'm going this, I'm gonna go all the way around and I'm gonna finish beating out this crust because I want this to bake in a certain way. I want the cheese to stay inside of this crust. If it's loose or it comes unstuck, it's not a big deal because guess where it's going? In the middle, where the sauce and all the other cheese is, right? So you really can't do this wrong. The one thing you can do wrong, however, is make this stick to the table. So what I'm gonna do is, before we go any further, E, come here, I'm gonna show you something. The worst thing that you can do in making pizzas at home, especially hand-stretched pizzas, is to have any moisture on your work surface, like I have here. This is a little bit of water that dripped out of the bowl. So all of a sudden, if this pizza touches that water, guess what's gonna happen? I'm gonna be not too happy with myself because it's gonna cause the pizza to stick to the peel, and when I go launch it, it won't come off, it's gonna stick. So what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna take a little bit of flour here, all the way around. I'm gonna take a little bit more flour here, just kind of go like this, and I'm gonna clean up my board, and all of a sudden, no harm, no foul. If I didn't even mention it, guess what? Andy would have never even known.
Never known.
Now, get this out of the way. The last thing, if you're worried about any moisture, any sticking, take some flour, go all the way around the edge like this, and then take your dough scraper, your bench scraper, whatever you want, and just kind of go underneath the pizza, just like this. This is going to be another one that's going to ensure that this is going to come out and be perfect every time. Now you'll notice that my pizza shrunk. Yeah. I'm putting my board over here. I'm going to put a little bit of flour just like this, all right? Because I'm going to transfer this from a wooden peel, all right? You say, oh, Leo, how are you going to move this from here to there? No problem. Look, boom, done. Now, I'm on my board. I don't have to worry about transferring. I mentioned that this was a pizza for my kids. If you wanted this thing to be 16, 18 inches, guess what? You're gonna need a bigger dough ball. These dough balls are probably about 290 grams, which I think is what I showed you in the video. But again, depending on how big you need to make your pizza, adjust the top accordingly. Now, from here, I've got some of that beautiful American sauce. The recipe, boom, right here. You can find the link right here. Go onto the channel. If you tried this a million times and you love this sauce, I'd love to hear it. Leave it in the comments. Go ahead. I'm gonna put some of this sauce right here on the base. Sometimes if your kids don't like tomatoes, you know, I know there's some of those, right? My kids, they like tomatoes, so let's usually put a little bit more sauce. CJ, on the other hand, I don't know. He don't eat mushrooms, but he does like tomatoes, so we're gonna make this a little friendly. If your kids don't like any basil in there, make the sauce however it's gotta be so that they're happy. All right, now, there we go. From here, I'm gonna say, since CJ approved, I'm gonna take a little bit of basil like this, hand pinch this off, and I feel that why not make this a little supreme, right? Should we make this a supreme pizza?
Supreme it up, bro.
I don't think we ever did a supreme pizza anyway. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of this mozzarella. This is whole milk mozzarella that I've cubed into about, I don't know, maybe about a ½ inch dice here, right? Put some mozzarella. I mean, since we already put about, you know, I don't know, let's put about 2.5 pounds of mozzarella in the crust. Why not put a little bit more in the middle? Oh, because of age. Anyways, so I got this on here. From here, let's take a little bit of Italian sausage. This is some Italian sausage that I pinched off. I put into one of those Blackstone cast irons. You can find that on blackstoneproducts.com. And I pinched it and I pre-cooked this in the oven so that no matter how long my pizza takes or doesn't take, I'm never running the risk that the sausage is gonna be undercooked, right? The next thing I'm gonna do, I don't know, how about some couple strips of, these are green peppers. These are very finely cut. If you want to thank anybody for that demonstration of knife skills, you can also send a message to CJ because he's the one who helped me with that.
You're welcome.
Look at that fine craftsmanship here, that artwork that he did for me. Here's some just beautiful onions. Notice I'm putting all of the vegetables on top of this pizza. Any guesses why there, Ethan? Ethan's like, huh? You're talking to me? Huh? No, here's why.
What do you do with toppings?
No. Well, yeah, they're called toppings because we put them on top, right? If not, they would call them what, bottomings?
Probably.
If we put them under the pizza.
Bada booms.
Now, the reason why I like to put all my vegetables on top is because these vegetables are raw. They're not pre-cooked. So by putting them on top of the pizza, as they cook, they're going to release that moisture and you're going to have a very beautiful top. Now, the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a couple, 2-3 of these black olives.
Those are not CJ approved.
CJ does not approve of olives. I do. I like olives. And then, you know, again, it's classic. If this was a supreme, you know, kind of call it a supreme pizza, this would have that on there. And what kind of supreme pizza would it be without a little pepperoni? Now, this is by design. Watch what I'm going to do with this pepperoni. I'm kind of laying the pepperoni kind of upwards on the side and on the edge because as this cooks, I'm not going to put any additional oil or anything because that rendered pepperoni juice that's going to come out of this thing is going to land on top of these raw vegetables and it's going to help cook them. Pepperoni, when you cook pepperoni, especially in one of these beautiful ovens behind me, it kind of like shrinks up a little bit too. We've been talking a lot about shrinkage in this episode. Last thing that we're going to do, I'm going to grab a little bit of Parmesan, a little bit of Reggiano. Make it rain just on top like this. I don't need a lot, but I just love the way that this cooks on top of this pizza. And then, finally, let's give it a shake. If you can shake it and it moves here, guess what? It's gonna move to the oven very simply. I'm gonna be using the Blackstone Griddles Pro right here behind me. I've got this set right now to about, I don't know, hot. I'm just kidding. I'm going into an oven that's about 550 to 600 degrees. I want this not so intense on the heat because I want to give this enough time so that cheese inside of the crust melts and everything else will be perfect when it's done. Man, this pizza looks great. I'm going to set it down right here on this board. We're going to make it rain with some parm and now I'm going to give it a cut. I'm going to go make slices out of this here, kind of go to the edge. Depending on how much you want that cheese to pull out of this, maybe you want to do it right away. In my experience though, if you do it too quickly, all of a sudden, all you're going to have is mozzarella all over the board instead of inside the crust. I'm going to make an 8 cut out of this just because I want to prove I can. And then I'm gonna serve this up because I know that the one thing that Ethan's like, dude, you haven't used any ranch, bro. I know, and we still aren't gonna use ranch. But check this out. Inside of this crust, can you see all that little mozzarella inside over here that's kind of peeking through?
Stop moving it.
We played with it enough. Let's eat it now. I think that the best thing about this pizza is the edge. So why not start with the edge first? Look at all that cheese. Guys, I know you guys aren't big eaters of vegetables in this crew, but this is the best pizza you're ever gonna eat all day. I hope you guys love this as much as I do. I hope it encourages you to make this at home with your family. Leave us your comments, show us your successes, and guys, I can't wait to do this with you again soon. Ciao amici!